Hey guys, welcome to my first video of 2020. I am so excited to have spent an entire year on YouTube now. If you guys are one of my first subscribers, I am so appreciative of everyone who has hung in this whole long ride of a year. I hope this year also has a lot of content and growth for my channel, and as always, I appreciate you guys all. But I want to get right into this video. Today we are solving an age-old issue, and that is, what TV series should you binge watch next? So I've compiled a list of 20-ish, maybe a couple more than 20 TV shows that I think you guys would enjoy binge watching this year. So stick with me if you guys want to hear what you should binge watch next. I was gonna try to sort this list into my favorite ones to my least favorite ones, like a order of preference for you guys, but I realized that there's no real way to rate these from best to worst, since really I enjoyed all of them. So I'm just gonna give you guys these in a completely random order, and I'll let you guys choose which one you want to watch. I will give a little quick description of each one, maybe like a quick plot summary or why I enjoyed watching it, and then I hope you guys enjoy watching these shows. The first one on my list is a true classic, and that is Friends. I know we had a little scare this year with everyone thinking that Friends was gonna be leaving Netflix, but I guess it hasn't left Canadian Netflix yet, so it's never too late to start Friends. I will say it's a long haul watching Friends, and the other thing about it is that most people, whether they've seen the show or not, know the general plot line, like, you know, the whole Ross and Rachel situation. But Friends is just known for being one of the best shows, and the other thing about Friends, you can watch it with friends, you can watch any random episode and it still makes sense. You don't really have to watch Friends from start to finish for the plotline to make sense to you. So Friends is one of my favorite shows to just throw on in the background. Right now my boyfriend and I are working through it, and I think we're on the 7th season, but this is the second or third time I've watched through the entire thing. My next suggestion is actually a reality TV option. I have to say I'm a sucker for reality TV, and I think that watching Big Brother is probably one of my favorite shows to watch. So there is a Big Brother Canada season coming up right now that you guys could watch, or you could just go back and watch old Big Brother seasons. The US one's really good, the Canadian one's really good. I think the Canadian one is something you can relate to a little bit more living in Canada than... It's not that you can't relate to regular Big Brother, it's that living in Canada for Big Brother Canada, you'll have people who, not necessarily will be from your province or from your like general area of where you live, so it makes it interesting to follow along with. But anyway, that's a really good option, and there is that season coming up right now. My next suggestion is another classic. It's How I Met Your Mother. Kind of the same vibe as Friends, but I guess it's a little funnier, one might actually say. I've watched through from... I've never actually watched through start to finish of How I Met Your Mother. I've watched like along, and then I watched the end. I want to say I've seen every episode, but I can't like be completely sure I've seen all those middle episodes, because I definitely watched the first 2 seasons and I definitely watched the last. I'm not 100% certain what went on in the middle, but this is a great option if you've already watched Friends, because it's basically the same show. The only annoying thing with How I Met Your Mother is it has a very unsatisfactory ending. But I don't know, some people live for those unsatisfactory endings, so if you like that kind of thing, then it's definitely the show for you. My next suggestion is a show that I actually couldn't finish. As embarrassing as that sounds, you recommending one that I haven't finished myself. It's Riverdale. I really enjoyed the first maybe 3 seasons of the show, and then I found that the plot line just started to deteriorate, but I don't want to take away from how good it actually is. So if you guys are interested in the whole like Archie, Veronica, cartoony thing, it's a very interesting take on those books, which I did read as a child, so that's another thing I recommend, but be warned that the plotline definitely does start to deteriorate along the way. My next suggestion is a show that really messes with my head, but if you're the kind of person who enjoys being like disturbed every once in a while, it's definitely gonna be for you. It's Black Mirror. It's definitely on Netflix if you want to watch it. And every single episode stands alone, so you don't have to watch it through as a series, and every episode basically teaches a lesson through the plot line, and the plot line is always super disturbing. My favorite episode I've seen, I think, is actually the first episode, and it's about politics essentially, but it takes a really interesting stance on them and the way that people forget about things that happen in the political sphere. But anyway, if you're prepared to watch a show that's a little bit heavier, I definitely think Black Mirror would be a good option for you. My next one is a bit of a funnier one, definitely more lighthearted, and one of the shows you don't have to watch from start to finish to make sense, and that's Two Broke Girls. I honestly don't know if they still make Two Broke Girls. I watched it a long time ago and I just binge watched all the seasons that were available back then. I think that's when it was on Netflix. I'm not 100% sure if it still is, but it's definitely like a lighthearted, fun, definitely more of a girly show, and it's something you don't have to watch super seriously, so that's why I recommend it if you're not prepared to really commit to a show right now. If I was making a list that ranked these from my favorite to least favorite, this is the show I put in the top. It's Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy is probably my favorite series I have ever watched. There are still episodes coming out, and I've been watching it since basically the start, which I think it was when I was like 5 years old. My parents always watched it. I always watched it with them. I cared on myself, and then I think I've watched through the entire series probably 4 times, and there's like 20 episodes per season. I think there's 15 seasons now, so that's a crazy amount of time I've spent watching Grey's Anatomy, but the plotline is so good. I'll admit, we've gone downhill a little bit in these last few years. You know, if you're someone who watches Grey's Anatomy too, you know exactly what I mean, but nonetheless, the show is so good. And the plot has been super interesting to follow and not really that predictable either, so if you want a very long haul show, Grey's Anatomy is definitely gonna be my go-to for you. The next show is a show that took me a long time to get into, but once I was into it, I was so sad that it ended, and that's The Office. The Office is so funny. It's a very particular kind of humor. It's like a dry kind of humor, but The Office is so funny, and it's definitely not a show you have to take very seriously. If you're not in the mood to be watching like 20 episodes, you definitely can. I used to watch The Office like 1 episode a day just before I went to bed, and it was the perfect it was a perfect option because I'd never want to like desperately see the next episode, but I did every night want to watch at least one of them, so I definitely recommend The Office for something that's a little bit easier to watch. My next recommendation is Orange is the New Black. It's definitely on Netflix and I've always enjoyed watching it. My boyfriend and I committed over the last few seasons to watching it together, which was super hard for me because it's a show I truly enjoyed binge watching back when I used to be able to. And this is something I'd love to go back and watch again because the plot is just really good. And I honestly forget what happened in those middle seasons, but basically it's just a bunch of girls who are in prison together, living their lives, and dealing with what comes their way. But it's a really good show, and it's definitely one of the more easy to binge ones. So if you're looking for a true binge show, that's definitely Orange is the New Black. And at recommendation number 10 now, we're at the midway point and I'm back to reality TV shows again. This one is Survivor. Survivor is definitely one of the lesser known amazing reality TV shows. It's just a bunch of castaways who are stuck on a deserted island for 40 days together, and they voted each other out basically until one's left. That person wins, they take home $1 million. What I like about this one is it's a bit more unique, whereas Big Brother, it's very repetitive to me. It's still fun to watch, but it's repetitive. But Survivor, things are changing all the time. The game really is constantly changing. So this is definitely a very interesting one. And I'd almost recommend going back and watching old seasons, especially if you look up online like a list of the best seasons of Survivor, because there's a lot that are really popular. Like I'll admit there are some seasons that just really weren't that good, but there are probably 10 or 20 seasons that were so good that I'd go back and watch them again. And reality TV isn't really something you go back and watch again, so that should say a lot. The next show I recommend is The Crown. It's on Netflix. Right now I'm watching the newest season and I'm enjoying it so much. It's definitely not a lighthearted show, but I like that it teaches a story. Like it's a true story. It's historical fiction, a lot of historical truth, but definitely historical fiction, talking about Queen Elizabeth and her life. And it's really entertaining to watch. There's a lot of stuff I just didn't know about that I feel is like good to know, especially like the true historic events of her lifetime. But yeah, I'd definitely recommend this to anyone who's interested in England and the royal family. The next show is definitely heavier, but it's definitely a binge show. It's The Handmaid's Tale. Every time I watch it, I get kind of sad, or at least I watch it when I'm in the mood to be sad. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a heavier show. If you've read the book, you know how difficult the plotline is. It's about a different version of America, basically. I don't want to give away any of these shows, I don't want to give too much details, but it's a different version of America in which women are treated very poorly, and it's about one particular woman who is a handmaid who is trying to escape to Canada. My next binge-worthy show is one I just finished binging. It's Animal Kingdom and it's on Netflix. It's so good. Really attractive characters, really interesting plot line. It's a little bit gruesome / graphic / violent, but that's not something that's ever really bothered me in a TV show. I'm more of a kind of girl who doesn't want to sit through a movie like that, but TV shows don't bother me as much. I think there are 4 seasons and the 5th one's coming out, or maybe there's 5 and the 6th one's coming out, but no matter what, the show isn't done yet, so if you want to jump onto something that you're gonna be able to watch again in the future, this is definitely one that I recommend. My next recommendation is Shameless. This is another show that's not done yet, so the same as Animal Kingdom. If you want to start something that you're able to watch weekly when it comes out, Shameless is a good option for you. I definitely think that Shameless was better at the start than it is now, but I still really enjoy watching it. It's about a family slightly marginalized / poor, and basically just the troubles of their life, their interaction with their friends. It follows like each member of their family individually, which means that there's like a lot of different plot lines happening at once. So if you're not interested in one aspect of the plot line, which I find does happen to me sometimes with some of the characters, there'll always be plot lines in every episode that you're interested in anyway. But anyway, that's one of my recommendations to binge for sure. My next recommendation is actually a lot like Animal Kingdom, and when I started watching Animal Kingdom, I almost thought it was too close to this show, but it's Sons of Anarchy. It's another TV show about a essentially gang, and this is a motorcycle gang, which is something that made me not want to watch it in the slightest. But once I started watching it, I realized how it wasn't really like all about motorcycles. It wasn't like a super guy show. It has a lot of strong female characters, and as much as I enjoyed it, I will mention it's hard to watch. There's a lot of killing, violence, gun violence, and then just like occasional rape and sexual assault, which made it a little bit more difficult to watch. So I did want to put that warning in there, but it's super, super interesting, really easy to binge, and it has a phenomenal ending. My next suggestion is The Umbrella Academy. It's another show that did not immediately stand out to me, something that I was going to enjoy. I think it's based off of a comic book, but I enjoyed it so, so much. It definitely has that like people with powers, mythical creatures type thing going on, which I don't tend toward, but it really surprised me at how interesting this show was. And there's actually another season coming out soon, so if you wanted to watch the first season on Netflix and then jump in for the second, that's definitely an option if you want to binge. My next show I want to talk about is something that I loved. I think there's only 10 episodes in Big Little Lies so far, but they are coming out with a new season. I don't know how good the next season's gonna be. I really truly feel like the plotline was finished after the last season, and maybe they're trying to like push it a little bit too far. But Big Little Lies is so, so interesting. I absolutely did not expect what happened in the end, and it's definitely a quick binge, so I recommend that to anyone who needs something they can finish really quickly. The next TV show I want to talk about is 13 Reasons Why. I struggled deciding whether I should include this or not because I genuinely do not feel like everyone is in the right headspace to watch 13 Reasons Why. I definitely really enjoyed it, but I had tons of friends who it disturbed and bothered, so I just want to put out there that if you're not in the headspace or you don't personally think you're in the right place to watch a TV show that brutally depicts suicide, addiction, sexual assault, and rape, that it's definitely not the show for you, but it still is really interesting and talks about a lot of really, really important topics, which is why I wanted to include it in this video. But I thought that disclaimer was important, and I think I'll just move on because I don't want to talk too much about the plot line. But it's definitely something that is easy to binge because it's very, very captivating. The next show I want to talk about is Arrested Development. It's the complete polar opposite from what I was just talking about. It's extremely, extremely lighthearted, and it's done in a really cool way. Basically the first, I think 5 or 6 seasons are just regular episodes depicting these people's lives, and then the last season is one day essentially depicted from each character's point of view. I don't know, it's just really funny all the way through. So if you're looking for a really funny show to binge, I think Arrested Development is probably the funniest show, maybe aside from The Office, on this list. I'm finally at my 20th idea for you guys, and my last one is The Good Place. When I first started watching The Good Place, I thought it was a joke, honestly, that I'd been recommended by my parents because I really did not enjoy it, but it quickly becomes really interesting. It's another show that they're still making episodes of, so you could definitely catch up to where we are right now and then watch it live if you're interested in doing that. And it's really, really easy to binge because the episodes are very short. Well, anyway, you guys, I hope you really enjoyed this list. I always struggle to come up with shows I want to binge watch, so I want to give you guys 20 ideas for things you can binge watch in 2020. I always appreciate everyone who comments down below. Today, let me know what show from this list you're gonna watch this year. Like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this. You can even click the bell if you want to, then you're notified every single time I post a video. But anyway, you guys, hope you have a great week back to school, and I'll see you guys again soon.